I am Marshal Tianpeng, demoted to the mortal realm, deeply in love with beauty and extremely affectionate. The moment I saw Cuilan, I was captivated. I hid my identity, changed my appearance, and used all my skills just to win a smile from her. Finally, I won her heart, but she and our child accidentally saw a pig face, got frightened, and drove me away. Just then, someone above arranged for me to go on a mission to the Western Heaven. I waved my sleeve and disappeared from Gao Village. She never remarried, using up her lifespan to meet me 3 times. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. That day was grain full, and the child was chasing after me, shouting, "Daddy, Daddy, ride the big horse." I bent down, carrying the 3-year-old Ingzi on my back, imitating a big horse, bouncing up and down, making Ingzi laugh gleefully. After a few rounds, I was drenched in sweat, soaking my linen clothes. My wife Cuilan, with her fair and rosy complexion, returned from the soy sauce shop, and the smile on her lips never faded. She changed her usual harshness and shyly whispered in my ear, "Dear, it's going to rain tonight, perfect for a good sleep." Her rosy lips and white teeth, word by word, struck my heart. I joyfully got up from the ground, wiping the hot mist with the handkerchief she handed me. It was our secret signal for intimacy, which I hadn't heard in a long time. "Honey, you stay home and put Ingzi to sleep. I'll go bathe by the river." When I returned, it was getting late, the sky was dim, and the crows were settling. A flickering candlelight illuminated the house. I tiptoed into the main room and changed into the wedding clothes I wore on our wedding day, which Cuilan liked. I then quietly called out to Cuilan in the master bedroom, "My beauty, I'm here to find you." Under the candlelight, her cherry lips and jade nose, which once made me fall in love at first sight, shone brightly like spring flowers, as beautiful as the autumn moon. I embraced her slender waist. "Don't rush, dear. Drink this wine first, then we'll proceed." For a moment I hesitated. Drinking was taboo. I hadn't tasted it since I was demoted to the mortal realm. Seeing my hesitation, Cuilan blew gently into my ear. "I brewed this rice wine myself. It won't make you drunk, but it will intoxicate your heart." She then poured the wine into my mouth along with the cup. I didn't refuse anymore, chewing and swallowing the cup along with the wine. Suddenly, a strong wind blew outside, and large raindrops fell on the windowsill. I felt like I was floating, becoming friends with the wind and rain, flying into the air, and falling with a scream. Cuilan pointed at my face in terror, like a frightened bird with nowhere to hide. "Don't be afraid, it's me. I'm Banzwang, your husband." She picked up Ingzi and fled in panic, ignoring our daughter's tearful eyes and cries for her daddy, even knocking over the nearly extinguished candle as she left. In the mirror, a pig demon's face startled me. I quickly rushed to the courtyard, scooped water from the tank, and drank 3 ladles. I touched my ears and nose, but I didn't return to the handsome and dashing Marshal Tianpeng as usual. In my confusion, a group of noisy voices approached. Zhang Ding from the soy sauce shop led his men into my courtyard with weapons. Instinctively, I covered my face and hid in the wheat pile. A heavy rake struck my waist without mercy. I covered my face and said, "It's me, Cuilan. Stop hitting me. Tell them to stop." Cuilan shouted, "Nonsense! How could you, a pig demon, be my husband? Get out of my house." I stood there in shock, unable to react. How could she? I had confessed my true identity to her. She had given me unwavering love and bore me a daughter. How could she now? The blows of hammers and iron tools rained down on me. Fortunately, I am Marshal Tianpeng, and these hits wouldn't kill me, but each strike landed on my face and heart. "Cuilan, we've been together for so many years. Even though I don't earn much now, I've still managed to support you and our child. If you're upset with me, I'll find another job. I'm strong. Please don't send me away." Zhang Ding's club hit me again, and I heard the sound of my bones cracking. His eyes were filled with rage as he snarled, "Get lost! How dare you, with your pig demon face, think you can live with our town's beauty? Cuilan turned around and weakly nestled into Zhang Ding's arms, starting to sob. It was then that I understood. It wasn't that she found my true form ugly. She had simply found a new love and forgotten the old one. Sadness overwhelmed me, like a silent, chilling rain. I collapsed to the ground. So, the endless jars of sauce at home had a purpose. So, her sudden gentleness was because she had found a new haven. So, while I stayed home cooking and taking care of our child, she claimed to be out at the market, felt like a bone stuck in my throat. I stood up, my voice low and furious. Stop! My aura was mountainous, and the ground trembled thrice. Thunder roared in the sky, and even gods would hide from this scene. Zhang Ding clung to Cuilan and retreated several steps. Ingzi suddenly cried and ran towards me. Daddy, hold me. But her mother stopped her. He's not your father. He's a pig demon in disguise. Stay away. Ingzi hesitated, fearfully lowering her hand and burrowing into her mother's embrace. My outstretched hand fell slowly. Zhang Ding and his cohort's threatening voices echoed in my backyard. I looked around at the home I had built brick by brick over the past 4 years, still reluctant to leave. When did Cuilan change her heart? Was it something I did wrong? Or something I didn't fulfill for her? This premeditated betrayal shrouded me in a deep fog, one I couldn't escape. But Ingzi shattered my last hope. She pouted, Mommy, I hate pig demons the most. I'm scared. Cuilan covered Ingzi's eyes and ears, glaring at me as if repeating those 2 words, get lost. Fine, I'll leave. As I packed my things in the main room, the mirror reflected my true form, grape-like eyes, ingot-shaped ears, and a heroic bearing, like a war god untouched by dust. I remembered a few months ago when I refused the Guanin's offer to journey to the west. She said it was a rare opportunity to return to the heavens and even become a Buddha. But looking at Ingzi on the bed and thinking of Cuilan working hard on her embroidery, I gave it up. With my things packed, I looked at their wary gazes. My eyes held no more laughter. Deceit and lies pierced through the window, too dark to see through. Before leaving, I fixed the window and door frames damaged by the night's wind and rain. I didn't have much luggage. The rake Cuilan had pawned for jewelry was in Zhang Ding's hands last night, and he had hurt me badly with it. Luckily, I was once one of the 4 guardian gods. A few days of rest and I would be fine. As I was about to leave, a flood suddenly surged through the village, the roaring waters mingling with the villagers' terrified cries, threatening to swallow the town. The rivers gradually filled with the rain, and so did my heart, soaked to the core. Passing by the home of Mrs. Gao at the village entrance, she invited me in to sit. I didn't refuse. Under the warm stove were the logs I had chopped for her days ago, crackling and sparking, blending with the sound of rain to form a symphony, reminding me of my days in the heavens. I sipped some hot tea, feeling warmth return to my body. Drowsily, I drifted off. When I woke up again, it was the scorching heat that roused me. I was tied alive to the century-old tree at the entrance of the village, with a blazing fire burning beneath me. The searing sensation was unbearable, and I could even smell the charred scent of pork. Seeing me awake, Cuilan, with her arms crossed in front of her chest, pointed towards the others and commanded, Quick, add more firewood. I told you this demon is tough. Even 5 pounds of rat poison couldn't kill him. My stomach churned, and with a retching sound, I vomited like a flood, almost extinguishing the fire beneath me. Hurry, add more firewood. Bring all the wine jars from home. Zhang Ding, the owner of the sauce shop, ordered his workers. The wine in those jars was brewed using a secret recipe I gave him, which had brought considerable business to his shop. Old Mrs. Gao, who lived at the village entrance, was sitting 10 meters away, drowsily dozing off, just as calm as always. They had all made up their minds to take my life. Even my little daughter, Ingzi, was mimicking the adults, adding firewood to the pile beneath me. Even the century-old elm tree, which protected the village, They were willing to sacrifice just to burn me alive. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my cheeks, and the villagers laughed and mocked. Look, the pig demon has feelings, it's crying. Mrs. Gao opened her eyes and stared at me for a long time. A beast that mistreats his wife and daughter cannot be kept alive. Burn him to ashes. Zhang Ding seized the opportunity to spread rumors. That's right. Burn the pig demon. Free Cuilan. Rid the village of this pest. The crowd echoed. Burn the pig demon. Rid the village of this pest. Only then did I realize that the tea I drank earlier was not only laced with rat poison but also with wine. Cuilan. Oh, Cuilan. I had already agreed to leave, so why do you insist on killing me? I didn't ask the question out loud, but the deafening response came nonetheless. You, pig demon with your great powers, if we don't eliminate you today, you'll bring disaster tomorrow. To prevent you from ever harming me, my child, or anyone in the village again, we must strip your sinews, flay your skin, burn you to ashes, and eradicate this threat forever. I couldn't believe these words came from Cuilan, with whom I had lived for 4 years. When did I ever harm you or Ingzi? Cuilan, why has it come to this? A flicker of guilt flashed in her eyes. Suddenly, I saw an unprecedented, ferocious and bizarre smile on her face. Just as I was about to speak, Zhang Ding pointed at me and cursed. You beast in human attire, stop confusing everyone. Demons are all despicable, vile, and malicious devils. Burn the pig demon. Rid the village of this pest. The fire grew stronger. I didn't know what Cuilan had told the villagers to make them see me as a beast in human clothing, a ravenous wolf. My once cold heart began to burn with rage. I had always been obedient to Cuilan and respectful to everyone in the village. Because of my great strength, I chopped firewood for every household and saved many children from wild animals. Why did they show no mercy just because of the divide between humans and demons? When I was first banished to the mortal realm, I often struggled to adapt and secretly used my powers. But ever since Cuilan said she was afraid of my abilities, I had put away my skills and played the role of an ordinary person. Over time, I had long considered myself a commoner, a member of this village. I chopped wood, cooked, fetched water, and lit fires with everyone else, working from sunrise to sunset. In one night, they betrayed and forgot their gratitude, drugged me, tried to take my life, and wanted to burn me to ashes. The fire of anger burned in my eyes, my clenched fists full of resentment, my knuckles turning white. My body trembled with rage, growing more intense by the moment. Even the gods would be furious. A bolt of lightning split the tree trunk that bound me. I tore through the layers of hemp rope, growling angrily, transforming into the monster they spoke of. I roared incessantly, wanting to level the entire village. The ground split open with a giant fissure. Lightning like swords slashed through the sky. Dark clouds roiled, and torrential rain poured down. At this moment, I had only one thought: to kill everyone in the village. The last bit of my sanity was pulled back by Ying's cries. Seeing her about to fall into the fissure, I dashed over and scooped her up, placing her on safe ground. I also saved a few other villagers who were swept away by the flood. Seeing that everyone was safe, I calmed down, and the world returned to its original state. Don't cry, Ying, don't cry. Daddy will give you some candy. I fished out a round piece of orange peel candy from my coat and unwrapped it. I placed it in Ying's palm. She indeed stopped crying but looked at me with wary, fearful eyes. Mother said my dad died. You are a pig demon who ate my dad and will harm all of us. She threw away the orange peel candy I stayed up all night making and rushed into Zhang Ding's arms. Looking around, the people who had added fuel to the fire and watched the commotion had all run back to their homes, shutting doors and windows tightly and extinguishing their candles. At this moment, the rumors of my brutality and madness were confirmed. All my past acts of kindness and charity were seen as a facade to cover my sinister and ugly nature. My hypocritical, gloomy, and twisted self was now exposed to the public. My love for Cuilan and Ingzi was now worthless. A shadow, wearing the shell of a pig demon, futilely trying to protect his wife and daughter for a lifetime, shattered into pieces. But I was originally a celestial being. I was unwilling, angry, furious, and heartbroken. I was once an incredibly handsome celestial being, but because of an affair with a fairy, I was banished to the mortal world for reflection. I didn't understand why loving someone required reflection. Was it just because those in power also liked this fairy? The moment I saw Miss Gao, I knew she was the human form of the Chang'e. I poured all my love into her. I loved her, respected her, pampered her, depended on her, just like I did in the heavenly court. She knew everything, yet she still chose to hurt me, just like when she accused me of harassing her in the heavenly court. She didn't dare to challenge authority and could only push me out, falsely accusing me to protect herself. With endless sadness and pain, I used all my strength to fly to the purple bamboo forest in the South Sea. I wanted an explanation from the only one who still believed in me, the Guanyin. In the secret bamboo forest, the air was moist and I felt serene. "Greetings, Guanyin." I hesitated to speak, but the Guanyin said, "I know everything." "Guanyin, do you think there are more good people or bad people in this world?" "Naturally, more good people." "Then why has the world never been peaceful, and evildoers still run rampant?" "Because goodness without discernment is not goodness. It is the accomplice of evil. With thunderous means show the heart of a bodhisattva. This is your destiny." After that, I followed the Tang Sanzang, the elder brother, on a journey to the west to retrieve the scriptures, letting go of my obsessions. We traversed the temples of the 3 realms, witnessed the prosperity of the 4 continents, laughed at the entanglements of the 5 aggregates, abandoned the attachments of the 6 senses. When I met her again, it was in the heavenly court, asking the gods to save the elder brother. When Guanyin extinguished the Samadhi true fire with the sweet dew from her jade purity bottle, I finally rescued the elder brother from the flames. Though I knew this destiny involved 81 trials, each extremely difficult, it was also liberating. No longer would I try to please anyone, no longer would I cater to anyone. If unhappy, I would urge the 3rd brother to quit, persuade the elder brother to return to Flower Fruit Mountain, and tell the master to go back to where he came from. As I was thinking this, suddenly, I felt a gaze fixed on me. The dragon girl, standing beside the bodhisattva Guanyin, appeared suddenly with a fervent gaze, filled with an inexplicable mix of resentment and longing. Guanyin, with a gentle smile, turned to the dragon girl and slowly spoke. "Since you wish to see him, why not reveal yourself and pour out your heart?" "Dear." Her voice sent shivers down my spine. All the celestial beings and demons had left, leaving only her lingering, sorrowful voice echoing in the mountain hollow. "Dear, young Ingzi has grown up and says she misses her father." Gao Cuilan reverted to her true form, looking significantly thinner. Her once bright, almond-shaped eyes now had wrinkles. Her once smooth hands were covered in scars from hard work, and the brilliance in her eyes had dimmed. She spoke weakly, her eyes half closed. "I finally found you. Do you know how much Enough, I still have a journey to complete. Tell her her father died long ago." I picked up the 9-toothed rake and flicked the dust behind me, as if trying to shake off all memories of her. The rake, however, got stuck in a Bodhi tree. Annoyed and somewhat angry, I left in a huff, my departure neither graceful nor dashing. "I'm sorry. I deserve to die. It was my moment of folly that hurt you. Hate me if you must, but Ingzi is innocent. You cannot deny her." Her voice, choked with sobs, was sincere. Her pale lips were stained with fresh blood, and tears streamed down her face. Her words left me breathless, a cold air stuck in my throat. When she wanted to chase me away and burn me alive, did she not consider that I was the father of her child? The scorching feeling of that day's fierce fire still lingered in the wind, almost driving me mad in the inferno. Now she uses the child needs me to bind me, likely because she can't rely on any other man. Thinking of how good I had been to her, I felt like giving myself a good kick. In the end, it was a misplaced trust. I deliberately transformed back into my pig demon face and gave her a lecherous smile. The child neither needs nor wants a father like me. Don't come looking for me again. Farewell. This time, I did not look back at the shattered beauty. The daytime wind picked up suddenly, withering the slanted willows in an instant. Back in front of my master and the elder brother, the Bodhisattva Guanyin had not yet left. Feeling somewhat resentful, I said, I know you have a compassionate heart, but please don't let her appear again. The Bodhisattva tapped my head with her finger and, with a slightly open mouth, said, You kneel before the gods, making exaggerated statements, accusing me of unfounded crimes. Do you know that you deserve to sink into the cycle of karma and retribution? My elder brother echoed the sentiment that I deserved it, and my master frowned deeply, turning his pale face away while muttering the word sin. My heart sank. They only knew that I had married and had a child in the Gao Village, then abandoned my wife and child to join the journey westward. They did not know that I had been betrayed, bound, and burned by my legally wedded wife, my life hanging by a thread. The punishment from the heavens was indeed deeply imprinted, and this tribulation in the mortal world left me with unspeakable bitterness. As we continued on our journey, I remained silent. The days of unspeakable suffering seemed to have begun the moment I met her. That day, passing by the Moon Palace, I found the injured and dying jade rabbit. Awkwardly, with my thick arms, I picked up the furry little creature and handed it to the palace maiden, Chang'e. She smiled, drawing me into the palace, where osmanthus flowers scattered all over the ground and on me. The sweet and glutinous taste of osmanthus cakes still lingered on my taste buds, and later I was often overwhelmed by the osmanthus cakes sent to me. The ground of the Moon Palace no longer had fallen osmanthus flowers, and its pristine cleanliness was an unspoken understanding of our bond. Candied fruitcakes were a direct sensory connection of our blending. Suddenly, one day, she came to my room, crying with tearful eyes and a slightly red face. The old Emperor Jade. He wants my body. Boo-hoo-hoo. I clenched my fists, stomping and thumping my chest in anger, but to no avail. I'll go and fight him 300 rounds. Held back by her delicate hands, her eyes filled with tears, she slightly raised her brows and said, You mustn't be reckless. Have a plan. Later, at the Peach Blossom Banquet, I found solace and companionship with Fairy Chang'e. But when she saw someone approaching, she suddenly pushed me away, crying and accusing me, leaving me unable to defend myself. At that time, the conflict between Queen Mother of the West and the Jade Emperor was at its peak. As a favored attendant of the Jade Emperor, I received multiple olive branches from the Queen Mother of the West, but I ignored them all. That day at the banquet, I followed Chang'e's plan and went to find her. Coincidentally, I ran into the Inspector Immortal, and everything seemed to align perfectly until I was harshly punished by the Queen Mother of the West, receiving 2,000 hammer blows, leaving my flesh torn and bones nearly broken. I looked into Chang'e's tear-filled eyes, and my heart sank to the depths of the underworld, yet I never exposed her. After I was reincarnated as a pig and banished to the mortal realm, Chang'e kept her promise and reunited with me in the mortal world. She donned a red dress and married me, giving birth to a lovely daughter. I thought we would live happily in the mortal realm forever, but she was never satisfied. She wanted more love, more gold and silver treasures. It was only now that I realized she had sneaked down to the mortal realm without seeking permission. She belonged to the Queen Mother of the West, and there were countless palace maids like her in the celestial court. There were countless Chang'es, but I only wanted my Chang'e. Through many twists and turns, the four of us endured countless hardships to reach the kingdom of Tianzhu. In the kingdom of Tianzhu, the princess chose her suitor by shooting an arrow while riding an elephant, and by chance the arrow hit our master's hat. I knew that another disaster was inevitable. The entire kingdom of Tianzhu was decorated with red silk ribbons, and crowds gathered to celebrate the princess's wedding to Tang Sanzang. The bride's fair skin had a touch of enchanting red, and golden floral ornaments adorned the corners of her eyes. There was a familiar feeling in her brows and eyes. I shook my head, urging elder brother to think of a plan. But he was nowhere to be found at the critical moment. A sharp "wait" echoed. Elder brother returned, bringing with him a drenched, disheveled woman. It turned out that the woman who had jumped into the river was the real princess of the kingdom of Tianju, and the beauty on the banquet stage was indeed the jade rabbit spirit, the same rabbit I had saved in the heavens years ago. Before I could reminisce, the true princess of the kingdom of Tianju spoke. "You can't escape, Bianzhuang. Our fate is destined to span 3 lifetimes." This time, her words sent chills down my spine. She, the princess of the kingdom of Tianju, Gao Cuilan, my Chang'e, said, "Those years in the mortal realm, meeting and living with you, when I returned to the Moon Palace, I was caught by this jade rabbit. She threatened to expose me, so I slapped her, but it was still reported to the higher-ups, and I was reincarnated as a mortal, becoming the princess of the kingdom of Tianju. Who knew this vengeful rabbit would hold a grudge for decades, now trying to take your lives? I, with my mortal eyes, could only draw attention by jumping into the river. Under the gentle moonlight, I suddenly burst into uncontrollable laughter, then whispered softly, dancing with an invisible shadow beside me, as if that shadow held the unsolvable secrets of the 3 realms. What a joke! Your destined fate with me was nothing but your calculated steps, and my foolish infatuation." I ignored her. I picked up the luggage of the curtain-lifting general and handed it to the 3rd junior brother, then adjusted the master's hat and urged elder brother to leave. "It's time to go. Why are you standing there? If we don't leave, I'm heading home." "Dear, I always have a home for you." I meant the Marshal's mansion, not Gao Village, and not the kingdom of Tianju. I didn't even look back, muttering softly. My honor and achievements were never because of being with her. Without her, the days grew longer, but cleaner and brighter. On the journey to fetch the scriptures, a shadow always followed us, sometimes whispering, sometimes sorrowful. "Dear, can we really not be lovers, not be husband and wife? I promised 3 lifetimes. I am not willing to give up. Can you look at me? Do you really have the heart? I'm sorry. Can you forgive me?" She cried again, like that day in the heavenly court when she rebuked the Jade Emperor, large tears sliding down her cheeks. I didn't want to answer, nor did I pull my hand away, letting her tears fill my palms with icy coldness. I don't know how long passed before her sobbing became faint, too tired to make a sound. I just watched her cause a scene like an outsider, but this time without responding. The sky was dim, a cool breeze floated by, and the air carried the scent of osmanthus, sweet to the point of discomfort. "Stop following us and disturbing our westward journey to exorcise demons. The human heart is burnt out. What use is it to repair a broken temple? Don't be fixated on me. You just haven't found someone better." Looking across the 3 realms, I must be the only fool who would give up high office, fame, prestige, and wealth for a mere palace maid. I smiled bitterly to myself, looking up at the sky. She finally stood in place, perhaps seeing the resilience in my heart and the hopelessness in my eyes, or perhaps she heard that haven't found someone better. She was just unwilling. How could the man who once gave up everything for her suddenly stop loving her? She thought that hurting me, belittling me, deceiving me time and again would always earn my forgiveness. A love walking on thin ice, peeling layer by layer. I don't want it anymore. This time, I didn't even ask about the child. Over 10 years have passed. Ingzi should be of age now. That little one who once lay in my arms, I don't want either. Just as I was about to continue westward, I heard a scream behind me. It sounded like her voice. My heart tightened, but I didn't turn back. Master said, "Go and see Wu Neng." "I won't. It's better if that demon woman is dead." Master clasped his hands together, sincerely chanting a prayer. A monk's heart is filled with compassion. The elder brother suddenly convulsed, clutching his head in agony. I'll go. I'll go. The elder brother had already fainted at my feet. I went to the riverbank and saw her, curled up in pain. Seeing me approach, she revealed a triumphant smile. You still can't let me go. Then she grabbed my shoulder, using the same skill to seduce men. But I was no longer a man. I was to become a Buddha. From then on, love and hate, debts and grievances would have nothing to do with me. I gently pushed her hand away. Please respect yourself. She pouted, throwing a childish tantrum, wanting me to bend down and coax her like before. I held her and ascended on a cloud. In just a moment, I sent her back to the kingdom of Tianju, asking the king to keep her well. Her voice cursing me for being heartless echoed in the mortal world, faint and dark. Since then, people said the princess of Tianju fell in love with the monk and his disciple who looked like a pig demon, but both rejected her, leaving her despondent and restless. Worse still, she ordered the cutting down of all osmanthus trees in the country, slaughtered all white rabbits, and on full moon nights, she would go mad, chanting deer and refusing to sleep, dancing barefoot on the floor until her toes broke, the ground covered in blood. The king sought medical treatment, killing hundreds of imperial doctors, all saying it was a heart disease, incurable. The queen sent people to exorcise demons, but they were swindled out of all their money, emptying the treasury. She did not live well, but I wasn't happy either, a thick fog covering my eyes. With that heavy fog, I crossed the 81st tribulation. I received the decree to become the one who fetches the scriptures 14 years ago, which amounts to 5,048 days. When I was bestowed the title, my heart felt empty. The pure altar messenger is responsible for managing the offerings of all Buddhist believers in the world, which is a much higher position than the Marshal Tianpeng. The Buddha called my name 3 times before I snapped out of it and responded, Yes, Wu Neng, your earthly ties are not yet severed. This title cannot be given to you. I was about to argue when the elegant Guanyin Bodhisattva before me suddenly transformed into Chang'e. The jade rabbit in her hand burrowed into the ground and turned into a teenage girl. I recognized her. It was Yingzi. In just a few short years, it felt like a lifetime had passed. The hall was filled with incense smoke, thin wisps of sandalwood curling into my nostrils, enveloping the entire hall. I stood dumbfounded among the worshippers, the sound of the golden bowl bringing back a sliver of my consciousness. I then turned my head towards the gods and Buddhas, feeling puzzled. I did not understand what kind of fate had made them always help her fulfill her wishes, life after life. But the gods and Buddhas remained silent, not uttering a word. I had already fallen into deep self-reproach. It was I who once pleaded with Guanyin Bodhisattva to help Chang'e, no matter how difficult it was at the time when our bond was the strongest. It was I who once prayed to the heavenly gods and Buddhas to bless her and her child with eternal peace, no matter how long it took. It was I who used all my connections and savings in the heavenly court to create a new land of bliss for the two of them. The Buddha, dressed in a golden cassock and holding a Zen staff, his round face and deep eyes peering into the hearts of all, said nothing. His smile spoke more than 1,000 words. The gods and Buddhas heard it clearly. These 3 lifetimes of Chang'e's entanglement are what you wanted to see, not what truly existed. I did not listen, did not understand. I only heard Chang'e tell another story. Losing you was the most regrettable thing I ever did. That day, when I returned to the heavenly court, the Queen Mother discovered my true feelings and our union. She threatened to have Yingzi die immediately and never reincarnate, and forced me to burn the Marshal Tianpeng to ashes. On one side was my child, whom I had carried for months, and on the other was my husband, who loved me deeply. I would rather die twice myself than do it. But the Queen Mother was about to throw the 3 of our fates into the real fire furnace. Helpless, I had to find a way to kill my husband. I thought of poisoning you and then burning you, but the crackling of the fire also burned my heart. I could only protect the 3-year-old Yingzi from harm. It felt like I was listening to someone else's story, and I couldn't snap out of it for a long time. She continued, "That Zhongding was just a useful tool. How could I ever be with someone else? I would keep vigil for you through 3 lifetimes. Later, not having killed you, I had no choice but to seek Guanyin Bodhisattva's help. I don't know why she agreed to help me. After negotiating with the Queen Mother, she banished me to the mortal world. Those memories of mine were blurry, and I almost forgot you. But whenever the moon was bright, your image would appear before my eyes, imprinted on my chest. How could I ever forget you, dear? I used up 100 years of my lifespan to reunite with you in 3 lifetimes, just to get your forgiveness, just to be with you until the mountains crumble and the heavens and earth merge. My feelings for you have never changed." Ingzi, standing beside her, covered her face with her hands, tears streaming through her fingers. She was glowing with a strange light, chanting, "It's all true, Father." I stared at the mother and daughter in shock, my outstretched hand frozen in midair. I didn't know how to choose. After enduring 81 tribulations, experiencing life and death, and now achieving enlightenment in one thought, I lowered my eyes, staring long at the worn marks on my shoe tips. My mind was shrouded in that familiar fog. Her words arrived like raindrops but couldn't penetrate the fog filled with barriers. Looking at Chang'e's beautiful face, I felt like I had fallen into an endless hell. At this moment, the truth no longer mattered. She said she was willing to stay in this hall to refine herself, to atone for her sins forever, and to pray for my blessings. After many trials of life and death, it all ends up being just a dream. A bitter sigh, a winding journey, and several experiences. At this moment, whether or not I become a Buddha no longer matters. When I held the hand of the fairy who had crossed 3 lifetimes to meet me, the mist cleared, my vision became bright, and tears welled up. This was the first time I shed tears since leaving the High Elder's village. Just as I was about to embrace Ingzi, the voice of Buddha echoed in my ears. "This child has long entered the Buddhist path. She must sever her earthly ties. Purity of the 6 senses is best." I saw Ingzi moving closer to the Buddha statue, and in an instant, she disappeared, leaving a halo of light around the Buddha's head. It shimmered brilliantly, dazzlingly bright. I wept uncontrollably, bitterly pleading with Buddha for an answer, but Buddha only took back the title. Unable to contain myself, I sought guidance from Guanyin, but she indifferently said, "If a bodhisattva holds the forms of self, others, sentient beings, or lifespan, then he is not a true bodhisattva." Looking at my master, senior brothers, and junior brothers who had all become Buddhas, they each spoke. "The mist of the 3 realms comes and goes. Why fear high mountains and dangerous paths? Break free from the web of desires. Leap out of the prison of emotions. Cause and effect, karma, cannot be forgotten. Human desires are the way of the heavens." After a struggle, I still tightly held Chang'e's hands and led her towards the splendid moonlight. This time, it was not a broken mirror made whole again, but rather the fulfillment of karma. Some avoid the river of love. Some are trapped in the web of desires. Some are separated by life and death. Some are worlds apart. What one most desires to obtain may not be the true scriptures, but perhaps true love. As the saying goes, easier to find priceless treasures, harder to find a heart that cares. From the perspective of Bodhisattva Guanyin, we knew all about Marshal Tianpeng and Chang'e, but we didn't expect the Queen Mother to use this as a roundabout way to strike at the Jade Emperor's forces. As a result, it was difficult for Buddha not to get involved. Marshal Tianpeng and curtain-lifting general inevitably became pawns. Pity that child who was used as a medicine guide in her past life, and now suffers a bitter fate, reincarnated into Ingzi. But I was powerless. Even if Marshal Tianpeng hadn't come to plead, I would have helped them avoid this disaster for Ingzi's sake. Who knew Chang'e's love was so deep, and Marshal Tianpeng's even deeper. With 2 love-struck minds bound together, disaster was inevitable. Even if the Queen Mother didn't intervene, I would have made it hard for them to stay together. As they say, Bodhisattva's heart. Seeing Chang'e's desperate pleas, kneeling at the door for 3 days. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. I used her lifespan to exchange for 3 cycles of karma, just 3 times. By intervening in others' karma, I too would inevitably be damaged by 1,000-fold. Even the dragon maiden by my side was replaced, and I was slow to realize it. How foolish! Marshal Tianpeng endured such torment, yet still couldn't forget Chang'e. Their love long-lasting. I added a layer of mist to his perception, making him believe he was bewitched, doubting the mundane world. Originally, Chang'e was banished to be a princess of the kingdom of Tianzhu, but her identity as a princess didn't make her forget her past. Life after life. Has the soup of Mengpe expired? This was not my fault. I added too much agar and jade to it. Alas, my bodhisattva's heart finally found a good place for Yingzi in this life, becoming a Buddha's light, bright and unseen, only needing to smile. But I borrowed Chang'e my form again, still in front of Buddha, surely to be punished. My witty response in the hall helped me regain some face. After all, a bodhisattva does not have a fixed form. Can be you, him, a beggar, a noble, a prostitute, a shoemaker. In the turbulent world, life is a high-temperature, high-pressure furnace of gossip. To avoid being burned, one must transform their thoughts. Become me, become him, pick up, put down. I seem to hear Yingzi's message again, urgently. I go to bring her back to the South Sea. She is like a lovely child, giving me warmth. Almost forgot. She was my lovely child, suffering life after life, just because she is my child, as punishment for stealing the forbidden fruit. By now, have you guessed? Am I truly Buddha's or the Queen Mother's or working for the Jade Emperor? The truth is no longer important. Look at the bright moon on the branch, seemingly with tender feelings, flickering, tall and short. The moon is peaceful, osmanthus blossoms fall to the ground. A fresh fruit scent wafts through the air. I sigh at the young couple. Instead of loudly pleading bodhisattva, why not gently call each other's names? Love in the world is like a dream, still there when awake, flowing like water.